people know and can smell if it's real or not, and if it's truly authentic.
Hi, everyone. I recently had a terrific conversation with the one, the only, the amazing matriarch, momager, businesswoman, celebrity star, whatever you want to call her, Kris Jenner. Great friend of mine, a great friend of ABG. And you'll be able to listen to this conversation on A Conversation with Nick Woodhouse on YouTube or LinkedIn or Instagram, wherever you intend on listening to it. And it was a great conversation about family and, of course, the empire that Kris and her family have built together, and some great messaging around the year 2020, and which obviously has been a very, very tough and trying year for many. And I want to wish everyone a happy holidays, as Kris does in the conversation as well. Thanks, everybody, for listening.
Things are great, and thank you for my Juicy Couture sweatsuit. I just opened it.
It's the least I could do for you being the matriarch of the family who helped invent Juicy Couture. So it's the least I can do. And it's
Oh, well,
go
very
ahead.
fancy.
Yeah, good. It's so funny, that brand, right? How it ebbs and flows, and it's just amazing.
Yeah, it truly does. I think that with all iconic brands, I think that's what happens is they come to a place where people pivot looking for something else, and they always come back to what's really great.
Yeah, no, it does. So everyone is. I know how. Listen, your time's like mine. Congrats, Kim, with everything's going with Kim and with Kylie and everybody else. It's phenomenal. We
Thank
are,
you.
and happy to hear that everyone is safe and sound.
I
Yeah.
know everything's going really well, and I think everybody, loves what they're doing, and that's, the majority of it is having a good time and doing what you're passionate about.
Right, right. But Kris, listen, you're a success. You yourself are a successful TV personality, a producer, a businesswoman, an author. But before you came all of those things, you were first a mom, and you obviously still are a mom, and you have daughters who are moms now. And do you remember the exact moment you looked at your family and saw this family that you love so much and that you've done so much with and for? And when did you first see the business opportunity with your family?
Well, it's good to talk to you too, Nick. Thanks for having me on. I really feel blessed because, we're all good and healthy and blessed and continuing to do what we do. So that's a good thing in this changing world of ours. But yeah, I think the bottom line in the life that we have is family. And that's literally truly the way that we all feel about each other. We'd rather be with each other than anybody else. And I think that the first time I realized that, it would be fun to work with my kids, it wasn't a moment. It just sort of evolved over time. And the first conversation I had with one of my kids really was Courtney, when I called her up one day and I said, "Hey, I really want to open a children's clothing store. Do you want to be my partner?" And she said yes. And at the end of the day, we opened Smooch, which led to the girls opening Dash. And the rest of that story is kind of history because that's what we were doing when we started filming our show. So when, this show came along and we were doing what we loved, that just made it even better.
Well, that's amazing. Well, I like to think I know everything about what happens in all of our businesses. I didn't know that story, that it started with Courtney. And where was that first brick and mortar store?
That was in Calabasas. So we all, I moved to Calabasas in the 90s, 1996. And my kids, ended up growing up, some of them their whole lives, like Kendall and Kylie, and some of them half of their lives, like the rest of them. But I think we just realized that Calabasas was a great place to raise families and be a family. And so it was in Calabasas. And my mom, I've been working since I was 12 years old because my mom had my grandmother had a candle store in La Jolla, and my mom had a clothing store in La Jolla and a candle store. So my entire life, when it was Christmas vacation or summer vacation, I would find myself working in one of my family stores. And I really, learned my work ethic from my grandmother and my mother, who taught me that if you work hard and you keep your head focused and you're, your thoughts in the right place, and you're doing something that you want to do, that you can accomplish anything. And so when it was time for me to go looking for a brick and mortar store, my mom and I, she came up from San Diego and or La Jolla, and we went driving around Calabasas, and we found a store that we liked, and we went inside, and I said to the store owner, I really want to have this store. And he goes, well, my lease is up in 30 days. It's all yours. So that it was easy for me. It just, I kind of put it out there into the universe and just willed it to come true.
That's amazing, Kris. That's amazing. I didn't know that part of the story, right? It's amazing that it's funny because I think one time when Jamie and I were in your breakfast room, we were talking about when we started working. I started working when I was like 14, and it is amazing how that. I think I've got young kids. I got a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old, and it's amazing that how that can be imparted upon your kids, right? That work ethic of, and my mom and dad were
Yes.
like, I remember like on the weekends, I'd be working and I'd be doing this, and I remember like as a kid, like, oh my God, what are they doing to me? And like I want to watch TV, or I want to play video games, or I want to and then I realize now that's why I work the way I do, and why I impart that upon my kids in a good way, that lifelong grind, right? And that at the same time understanding that balance of the grind and also spending that time with that family. That's an amazing story. And by the way, that's indicative of the way your kids are, in the public eye, that I know that that they work. And it's funny whenever I talk to anyone, because some people know that I know you and your family, and they ask me, what are they really like? I say they're the hardest working people. It's exactly what you see is what you get, and I think that's awesome that it's genuine, that it came from your mom, and that's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. I really am lucky to have had that upbringing and that discipline and that drive, to look up to and to learn from, because it's true. I think working hard and going out there and figuring it out for me was just very, um, in the best way, spiritually, physically, emotionally, financially, all of it, all the lessons it taught me, were just like the best way to grow up, be able to pass that along to my children.
Amazing, amazing. So this amazing Kardashian-Jenner empire, right, today, it's expanded so much beyond that initial brick and mortar store and the Dash store, and obviously well beyond the show. And you and your family, you've now ventured into makeup, skincare, shapewear, with kind of cosmetics and skin, KKW Beauty, Skims, Poosh, Good American, Rob's new businesses, and I'm sure I've missed 20 others, et cetera, et cetera. Was this like when you? I know you love a good whiteboard session. So did you draw this out? Did you imagine this? Was it organic? Did it just kind of happen naturally? How did this? What was the vision that created all this? How did it happen?
Well, first of all, we all dream big, and we had really the most amazing opportunity to create this amazing fan base, and the people that are true fans who we love so much and who watch the show for all these years. And the show really was and continues to be the foundation for everything else that we do. And it was kind of the springboard and the incubator, if you will, for so many things that we were doing. And as the show evolved, we all grew up. Kendall and Kylie were 9 and 10. So they grew up in front of everyone. And so I think people really did see us grow and evolve and know that the businesses that we are able to create and the things that we are able to do are truly genuine and genuinely what we truly desire. And I think that we realize that we can have so much more control of these businesses if we own them ourselves and really create them ourselves and are part of that whole process, the creative process. And we learned that Kylie, was the one who really taught us and disrupted the beauty business and taught us how to turn things around really quickly, and how the fan base that we had created on different social media platforms, we could really elevate our businesses with content on social media and share the experience with our fans. And then we had an instant, you know, group of people who wanted to buy what we were designing and making and creating. And it just was the perfect storm. And as we become more selective in our partnerships and working with the brands that we use and that we love, and, you know, people know and can smell if it's real or not, and if it's truly authentic. But, you know, we've thrown a lot of spaghetti at the wall and we've tried different things that sometimes worked and sometimes didn't. More times than not, they work. So we've been so blessed. But we really wouldn't be here today without all of these experiences that have added up into one huge family, um, creative, hardworking, you know, scenario. And by the way, I could think of a lot of things and come up with a lot of ideas, but I didn't have these kids along that were, you know, strong partners and had this amazing work ethic. It wouldn't be successful. You know, it is definitely the perfect storm.
Yeah, it's well said. I mean, you've got to be, good to be lucky and lucky to be good. And I think that's,
Yeah.
you and your family are evidence of that, right? Because people, it's easy to, and I know you never get caught up in what the keyboard warriors say out there in the world, and it's to me, it's always about a consistent track record, right? And it continues to be
Yes.
successful. And that ultimately is what it says to the naysayers, right? And it's kind of, it's impressive that venture after venture. And I also like that you're honest enough to say, just like we do in our business, you got to throw stuff at the wall and things fail, right? And it's okay, because
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
learn from our failure. If you don't learn from your failures and you just you go curl up in a ball, what kind of message are you sending, right? And there's things that you can, I'm sure that you don't need to, but there's things that you can point to say, hey, that didn't work at all, or that was it. I do it all the time where I'll say, that was my idea, and you know what? It was a bad idea, or I ex or I executed poorly against what I thought was a good idea, right? And
Yeah. Yeah.
it's amazing that we all know that everyone can have a good idea, and then you have to execute against it. So kudos to you for kind of pulling it all together.